here at Grand Bastion moments after the release of the balloons. A reception was hosted by the SDGG for all the visiting overseas territories, dignitaries and all the MPs and VIPs who have come to celebrate Gibraltar National Day together with all the Gibraltarians. And it's become very clear that Gibraltar is the envy of all the overseas territories, because on National Day, a message from the Prime Minister himself backing Gibraltar all the way. It was the big surprise the SDGG had in store, and they kept it under wraps, almost until the big moment. The news that David Cameron was to greet Gibraltar on its National Day was tweeted by Downing Street itself and then covered in the morning's press. Still, it got the biggest ovation of the day.
I'm delighted to be able to take part in the celebrations of Gibraltar's National Day. Britain and Gibraltar have a long and proud history. For 300 years, we have stood together as one with our shared sovereign. Today, your flag flies over the Foreign Office in London. The people of Gibraltar have faced the pressures of recent months with enormous dignity. Let me assure you that the British people and my government stand with you now. Our relationship is solid, sure, and enduring. On this Gibraltar National Day, the British government wholeheartedly supports your right to determine your political future. As I've said before, we will never agree to any transfer of sovereignty or even start a process of negotiation of sovereignty without your consent. And I wouldn't want us ever to go down that route. Gibraltar has been British for 300 years. Let's keep it that way. And as we celebrate today, let us all remember that Spain is our neighbour, and thousands of Spanish people are welcomed by you to work in Gibraltar. I know many of you have close family and friends in Spain. The world is an unstable place. Gibraltar is not. And that is why we want to see day-to-day matters dealt with through dialogue and not in unacceptable border delays or other actions or rhetoric. I have called upon Spain to work with your government and ours to find solutions to the difficulties of recent months. Today, let us look to the future and to a confident, flourishing, secure Gibraltar with good, constructive relationships with all its neighbours in the region, north and south. That way, everyone wins. So enjoy a great celebration and party today. Happy National Day, Gibraltar.
This year, the casement stage was akin to the cast of Ben-Hur. The timing was just right, with members of all the overseas territories coming to Gibraltar for a meeting just ahead of the Joint Ministerial Council taking place in November. And lend their support they did.
Today has been unbelievable. I do have on my red and white collars in support, but I can't say enough about the Gibraltar people and the pride that they have in who they are and where they've come from. This has been a really, really great day. Gibraltarians have a great spirit, and it was enjoyable to have the Island NetWest Games there. We had 20 islands competing against one another with their best of the best athletes. We had a great time, and hopefully the rest of the islands enjoyed themselves in Bermuda as well. We welcomed them to our beautiful shores where the sand is pink, and now you've welcomed me to this wonderful rock where the spirit is alive and well. So we're having a great time.
Oh, it was spectacular. I had sort of some perception or some idea what I thought it was going to be like. I'd heard about National Day, I'd seen clips of it on television, but it was totally exceeded all my expectations. It was probably the most spectacular event I've ever been to, with the enthusiasm and the atmosphere was wonderful.
This is very privileged for Gibraltar, and I would like for something like that to happen in Anguilla. That David Cameron would come to Anguilla, even the Foreign Secretary would visit Anguilla, or the Home Secretary for that matter, because as British overseas territories, we don't feel that we should be really governed from the Foreign Command Office, but from the Home Office.
Also on the main stage, MPs from all political persuasions in the House of Commons. All of them here for one purpose: solidarity with the people of the Rock.
As chairman of the group, I am in constant contact with the Chief Minister's office in London, and particularly during the recess, the parliamentary recess in the UK, I was on the phone to him 2 or 3 times a week. We were instrumental, the group, in convincing the European Minister, David Ludington, to call the Spanish ambassador in, and he did that, and just put him on the spot on what was happening. So that's the kind of thing that the group can do. And I asked the Chief Minister yesterday if there's anything specifically that he would like to see us have some influence on, and he said, yes, the European question, the link with Europe, and that's on the agenda at the present time.
First of all, it's like being with family. I mean, I get a great buzz. It's a great honour for me to come down here, particularly on National Day, and also to support Gibraltar in London at their National Day celebrations there, which we have at the end of September, beginning of October. And of course, we have a national mass now in London for Gibraltarians. So these are important parts of my calendar. But this gathering today is particularly significant. I think it cements the indivisible relationship between the people of Gibraltar and the United Kingdom. And that's the message that everyone here will be sending to Europe and to the world.
The Self-Determination for Gibraltar group kicked off National Day 21 years ago, and in the Chief Minister's words, saw it come of age today. Dennis Matthews, the chairman, who was there at the beginning, recalled how Gibraltarians had never given in, even when Franco closed the border, let alone now.
Are we prepared to hand over our Gibraltar to Spain? Folks, tell it loud and clear so that Andalusia across the bay can hear us, and even the politicians in Madrid. Are we prepared to hand over our land to Spain? And if we have to suffer the brutal onslaught from the Spanish government, the 7-hour queues, the constant maritime incursions by the Guardia Civil, the constant lies and insults from their state-controlled media, and the acts of our aggression against our fellow Gibraltarian citizens, then so be it. We've been here before, and we have survived. And Margallo will have to learn that these tactics will only serve to harden our resolve.
Repeating his iconic words from the beginning of August, but in a slightly different context, the Chief Minister told the crowds that hell would freeze over before any flag flew over Gibraltar other than the British or Gibraltarian flags. He took the Spanish Foreign Secretary's words from last July, "The party is over," and twisted them into "the party's just beginning."
David Cameron has actually said that his preference is that we should remain British, and therefore the position of the government of Gibraltar and the position of the government of the United Kingdom is entirely a united one. As the Foreign Secretary said a few weeks ago, we are in lockstep with the United Kingdom, and nothing could be better for Gibraltar.
We've spoken to some of the overseas territories today, and Gibraltar is the envy of all these overseas territories because they've had on their National Day a message from the Prime Minister himself.
Well, and we've worked very hard to secure that message. It's no secret that one of the things I wanted to do when I was first elected was to recalibrate, reset the relationship with the United Kingdom. I thanked Adrian Johns a moment ago, the Governor, in my speech at the STGG reception, for his work in helping bring about that very strong relationship, the relationship that we now enjoy, not just with ministers but also officials in the Foreign Office, and we have therefore been able to bring about a historic occasion like this where the Prime Minister himself has been virtually present in our National Day, and his message is a very clear, very proud and very firm message.
No doubts that this was a particularly fervous National Day because of everything that's been happening over the last couple of months. Now, your message last week was to ask Gibraltarians to keep calm. Do you think it's worked?
I think it has worked. That's why I said at the end of my address today, keep calm and carry on. Gibraltar will always be British. None of what we're hearing is going to change that. None of what we're seeing is going to change that. Mr. Margallo has said specifically that he wants to get back to the bilateral process to talk about sovereignty. Now he's starting to say that this may not be the time. I'm very pleased that he's realised that. The people of Gibraltar will not want their sovereignty discussed by Spain with the United Kingdom. We will not tolerate that. That is not what the modern way is about. If they want to talk about sovereignty, they should raise it with us. us. We don't want to talk about sovereignty with them. We won't actually entertain that conversation. But we are the masters of this homeland. We are the decision makers. The principle of consent requires that any change in the sovereignty of Gibraltar must be consented to by us. That's what self-determination is about, and none of what has happened in the past 6 weeks is going to shift the determination of the Gibraltarians to remain British, because we want to, and to decide the future of our land, to determine the political future of this land of ours, because it's ours.
It was then time for an eternal servant, 93-year-old Perry Stiglitz, a supremely influential American who has done so much work for the Rock in Washington and the United Nations, to receive the Medallion of Honor. After that, the small matter of the release of 30,000 biodegradable balloons and a haze of ticker tape accompanied by the burst of fireworks from Watergate House. A national day to remember.